Today, we dive into a horrifying caving story that took tragic turns. He slipped into the earth through a gap barely wider than a backpack strap. 5 hours later, it almost became his grave. If you are new to our channel, don't forget to subscribe channel and press bell icon to instantly get all new videos when available. On the cold morning of February 11th, 1998, a sharp winter wind swept through the Tennessee woods. It was the kind of morning that reminded even the most seasoned explorers to pack carefully. That morning, James Lewis, Alan England, Darrell Moore, and Jerry Olin were preparing for a caving expedition. Olin had recently come across a new cave during a ridge walk and invited his experienced friends to help explore it. Locally known as Weatherly Well, the cave offered no easy welcome. Its entrance was a narrow 9-inch wide slot that dropped 40 feet down, barely wide enough for one person to squeeze through. The opening led to a 7-foot drop, followed by another 10-foot descent deeper inside. Standing at the mouth of the cave, the group examined the entrance closely. The gap was tight, dark, and intimidating. Even from the surface, they could see the first drop, a steep slide into shadows. Beyond it, the cave twisted like a corkscrew, narrow and constricting. Despite their experience, this cave would require a careful approach. They laid out their equipment meticulously, ropes, carabiners, hand lines, and reviewed their plan. Only one person could go in at a time. Alan England, at 63 years old, was the fittest and smallest among them. He volunteered to go first. Rope secured above ground, England exhaled deeply and began sliding into the narrow crevice. His ribs pressed against the rock, his clothing catching on damp walls. Inch by inch, he maneuvered downward. By the time he reached the base of the entrance, he was soaked, his shirt and pants clinging to him from the cave's cold moisture. Once past the slot, gravity helped him descend the 7-foot drop, where he was finally able to stretch out. He shone his headlamp toward the next challenge, another 10-foot drop leading deeper into twisting chambers. The walls glistened with moisture, and the layout became even more complex. Tempted though he was to continue exploring, England knew the risk of pushing deeper alone. The next drop would require another rope setup, and without someone to belay or support him, it wasn't worth it. He turned back. Climbing the 10-foot rise was smooth. He moved with control, guided by decades of caving experience. But when he reached the base of the 9-inch slot, the very gap he'd slid through earlier, he felt a sense of dread. What had been easy with gravity pulling him downward now felt impossible. He braced himself and began the climb. Using the rope to steady himself, he reached upward. But the slot was unforgiving. It seemed narrower now, his arms strained against the cold, his soaked clothes sticking to the walls and dragging on the rock. From above, Lewis and Moore noticed England struggling. They tried pulling on the rope, attempting to help him squeeze through. But there was no room to maneuver. The more they tugged, the more England wedged in. He was stuck. And now, the cold started to take its toll. Inside the slot, England's strength began to fade. His hands trembled from exhaustion and cold. His breath became shallow, the rock pressing into his ribs, making it hard to fully inhale. The winter air blowing down the shaft turned the already frigid space into an icebox. His soaked clothes clung to him like frost. He couldn't generate body heat, and with nowhere to move, hypothermia crept in fast. Shivering and gasping, England tried to push through, but the rock held him like a vice. Above, Lewis and Olin did what they could. They lowered extra clothing and a thermos of warm drink down to him, hoping to keep him stable. England drank what he could, fighting the cold inch by inch. But eventually he called up, "I can't do this anymore. Get help." Without wasting a second, Lewis and Olin raced back to Olin's house and called for help. Within 2 hours, the East Tennessee Cave Rescue Team arrived. A group of expert cavers trained for narrow exit extractions like this one. When they reached England, he had already been trapped for nearly 5 hours. His face was pale, his body shivered violently. He was conscious, but his voice trembled. He kept replaying the descent in his head, how easily he had slid through the gap and how cruel it was that gravity now worked against him. The rescue team quickly stabilized him, giving him more clothing, food, and water to slow the onset of hypothermia. But now came the hardest part, getting him out. The geometry of the slot made it nearly impossible to pull him straight up. The team rigged a complex pulley and haul system designed to extract a body through a constricted vertical space with minimal harm. Each inch of progress was slow and deliberate. England winced with each tug. His ribs scraped the rock, his shoulders bruised against the stone's cold bite. But he didn't give up. After over an hour of careful maneuvering, the team finally pulled him free. Soaked, scraped, and battered, but alive. The icy air outside was strangely comforting after the crushing darkness of the slot. England stood on his own, his legs shaky, his jaw trembling, but he was determined to walk out under his own power. Later, reflecting on the experience, he admitted he had underestimated the difficulty of exiting the cave. The tight confines had robbed him of the space needed to operate his gear, forcing him to rely completely on others. But thanks to his willpower and a team that refused to let go, he walked away from the cave that nearly held him forever. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to provide your valuable thoughts about the current video through comments. For more content about cave stories, subscribe to our channel. See you again soon.